Can everyone see that okay? Great. So my name's Abby and I work for the Independent Food Aid Network. And obviously we've got a lot to cover in the next kind of hour and a bit, so I'll get started. Thank you for coming along to the session this morning. So we're a network of independent food aid providers, and our vision is of a country without the need for charitable food aid, where adequate and nutritious food is affordable for all. I'm joined today by Florence, representing Citizens Advice, who will be doing this session along with me, and my colleague from the Independent Food Aid Network, Emma, who will also be presenting with me today. We've already covered a few of the housekeeping things, so I won't sort of labour them anymore. So the current cost of living crisis means now more than ever it is vital that people with money worries are linked into advice and support to maximise income at the earliest opportunity. The Newham Worrying About Money leaflet was put together by IFAN and Newham Council, and the aim of this training is to provide you with the tools to use the leaflet, promote its use across the Newham area, and gain an understanding of the cash first approach to food insecurity. We're going to be using a Mentimeter to sort of assess how well we've kind of explained all of the concepts here today. So if you could go to menti.com and put in the code on the screen. I think Emma should be putting that in the chat for me. Then you can sort of rate your understanding on the 3 questions on there. Sort of for now, I'll give you about sort of a couple of minutes to do that before we move on. Okay, I'll just crack on with the next bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a cash first approach first. So we know that charitable food aid is a sticking plaster and not a solution to the poverty driving someone to need help from a food bank. The co-production of these leaflets is rooted in the cash first approach to food insecurity, and this aims wherever possible to address the poverty behind the need for someone to use a food bank through income-based solutions, enabling choice and dignity for people facing financial crisis. A cash-first approach looks at maximising people's incomes, whether from paid work or benefits. IFAN advocates for a cash-first approach which addresses the root cause of poverty, and that social security payments must be adequate, accessible and timely, and wages need to match the cost of living. Without wider systemic change, more people will need to turn to food banks. We found it helpful to start with some definitions of poverty as well, just before we move on to the leaflets. Low paid, insecure work, housing costs, the benefits freeze, and particularly now the rising cost of living combine to lock people into poverty. Poverty can seem like a huge unsolvable problem. Similarly, the economy is seen as big, unmovable, inevitable, and complicated. But the systems and economy we have were designed, and we believe can be redesigned to work for everyone. And a cash-first approach and this leaflet is part of that. We hear quite a lot about different types of poverty, so sort of energy poverty, period poverty, food poverty, but ideally we wouldn't be separating those up. We all think it comes from the same root. People need food banks because they don't have enough money for food, in the same way that people unable to afford tampons or heating are struggling because there isn't enough money coming in. When we talk about food poverty, period poverty, or energy poverty, we are talking about the same thing, as I said. However, the sort of short-term fixes for that, such as food or tampons or energy vouchers, won't address the structural issues that leave people without enough money. we risk downplaying that these are all symptoms of not having enough money. So therefore, we should advocate for cash-first solutions that put cash into people's pockets and bank accounts wherever possible. IFAN has a short, doesn't look as if, this infographic. There isn't any sound, so don't worry, your speakers are working fine. We just have a short infographic to explain a little bit about what we mean by this.
Hello, good morning.
Sorry, I think there were just some people in the waiting room that I've let in. But we are this session is being recorded, so we can share that around after for anyone who's kind of missed the first bit.
Great, thank you.
No problem. So just bear with me. I'll sort of get back to where I was. So we're all affected by the cost of living crisis, and we know that the number of people struggling to afford the essentials is increasing. As representatives of frontline organisations across Newham, you'll all be familiar with the impact this is having on individuals and households. And this cost of living tracker is part of the Trust for London report, and it kind of shows how inflation isn't felt by everyone in the same way. The headline inflation figure is measured as the average rise in price of goods and services that people buy, but the prices of products and services don't change at the same rate, and individual households consume a different mix of those. Over the last 3 years, price increases have more severely affected households with lower incomes than those with higher incomes. And following a steep rise in prices in spring 2022, we can clearly see that those most affected are the 20% of households with the lowest incomes, and those least affected are the 20% of households with the highest incomes. The increase in price that households in London with the lowest incomes would see if they were to buy the same goods and services as they did in the 3 years to March 2020 is 24%. So that's a 24% increase in prices. And this trend is similar for the rest of England. The stats on the slide are similar all over London. However, specifically in the Newham area, Trust for London reports that in 2020, 36% of people living in Newham live with an income of less than 60% the UK median after housing costs. And in 2021, 24.5% of Newham residents were estimated to be earning below the living wage. So sometimes all of this can feel overwhelming, but it's possible to focus on what we can do, what our organisations can do. And this leaflet aims to help people struggling to afford food and support workers find local cash first advice and support where it exists. This training is really important as it sort of realises the strength of the collaborative partnerships, the collaborative relationships in Newham and the part we all have to play in this partnership working. We can talking about cash first approaches to poverty, we strengthen all the referral pathways into support that maximises people's income and spreads the word about the Worrying About Money leaflet, so people get the chance to access any crisis cash support, and expert support at the earliest opportunity. So I think my colleague Emma has just entered the meeting, so I happy to hand over to her now, but if not, I can just
I am
carry.
here.
Hi, Emma. Are you okay to do the next bit?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
great. Thank you.
So like Abby has kind of already highlighted, this leaflet is a very practical way of taking a positive step to strengthen formal and informal support and the referral pathways into expert advice and support. The leaflet has a very easy to follow step-by-step process, and it's based in the Learning from Scotland's A Menu for Change project, and it's both for people experiencing money worries as well as frontline support workers and volunteers who are looking to help people in financial crisis. It helps people identify what's available in the area and where to best get help for any issues that are identified on the leaflet. These kind of leaflets we have for over 100 local authorities, and the number is increasing on a weekly basis. Currently, we're working hard to get as many leaflets out there as possible. And on the screen, you can currently see the one that we've co-produced for Newham some time ago. It's recently been updated as well, so all of the information is all up to date, which is fantastic. I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of the leaflet to help you see how it kind of works in a more practical sense. So on the right side on the screen, you can currently see step 1, which identifies 4 different scenarios. First one is I suddenly have no money, and there's I'm waiting on a benefit payment or decision. My money doesn't stretch far enough, and I have debt. All of these link to options in step 2 on the next slide, which then identify anything that the council can help with, for example, council tax support. I think it goes closer up in the next slide for you as well, so you can see it a little bit better. Thank you. The second step is maximizing income, so checking that people are getting everything that they're entitled to, or helping to access any other support schemes like free school meals. Then your third option is debt advice, which is pretty self-explanatory. The fourth step is benefit advance. So if someone is making a new claim for universal credit, for example, and they're in financial hardship while they're waiting for their first payment, this would be advice on how to deal with that. Then you've got hardship payment, which someone may be able to receive if they've been sanctioned. And finally, the sixth option is challenging a benefit decision. Again, these link back to step 3, which you can see at the bottom corner on the left. So you can see that our Newham Money and Citizens Advice East End would be able to help with all 6 options, and then the other organisations identified in step 3 can help with not all of them, but some of them still. So it's not only Citizens Advice that can provide you with information and advice. So that's how the leaflet works in a nutshell. You just follow the numbers and the steps that are quite clearly identified. It takes you right through from identifying the problem to finding a support agency best placed to help. We also have an other support section, which you can see in green. And that's a list of organisations that offer different types of holistic support, from housing to debt advice and so on. There's so many different great organisations providing support in each area, and Newham especially. We also collaborate with our local stakeholders to make the leaflet and information as accessible as possible. We're able to produce translated versions, easy reads, and posters. And all of our leaflets will also have an interactive version that you literally just click through all of the steps that I've just identified on the physical leaflet, but you just click through them online. So it's quite handy for people who have access to the internet or a phone or something like that. The collaborative element is vital to us when we're making sure that the information listed is accurate and relevant to the area, so that we work really closely with local stakeholders to keep the leaflets up to date. And like I mentioned, the Newham leaflet has recently been updated as well, so that should all be okay for now, at least for another 6 months, hopefully. If you have any updates you would like to make to the leaflet or any ideas of organisations that should be included that we've missed out on, please get in touch with us. And the same goes for any requests for translated versions or easy reads or posters. We're always looking to extend the reach of the leaflet, so you can always just get in touch with us. As said, the leaflet is for people in financial crisis, but ideally we would reach people before they reach this point, just to make sure that people aren't having to turn to food banks, but instead they're receiving help and advice from organisations and advice services before that. This means that the wider the leaflets are disseminated, and the best reach we can get. We're always happy to hear about new places that you can think of for the leaflets. Sometimes different local authorities pop the leaflets to schools or GP practices, or even council tax bills. So there's so many different ways to disseminate the leaflet. So any ideas are always welcome to us. And then we'll work with the council and other stakeholders to get these distributed in the area. We're really happy to have a wider discussion about places that the leaflets can get to, so any ideas are welcome, as said. It is vital that we engage with local referral agents and local food aid providers for this work to be impactful, so as well as enhancing the referral pathways toward local advice and support, because that is the main aim behind the leaflets in general. I think that is my bit, Abby.
Great, thanks, Emma. So I think we should probably move straight on to the bit from citizens' advice, just because if we sort of do all of our presenting, then we can facilitate a wider discussion and sort of stop the recording after that as well. And I should just say, because I've just been looking in the chat, anyone who joined a few minutes late, the recording will be made available to everyone after the session, and the slides will be sent around as well. So if you missed it, don't worry. And I think a few people have, so really sorry about that. So I'll just move on to the slides for citizens' advice. Is Florence here at all?
Yes, I'm here. If you can hear me. I think there were technical problems at the beginning. You can hear, yeah?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. From the Citizens Advice, we are part of it's part of a national charity, really, and with the East End, we comprise of Newham, Tower Hamlets, and Hackney. We normally support, as it's clearly indicated, we are voice for our clients, because we do, apart from providing advice in various inquiry areas, we also collect evidence and also carry out campaigns just to ensure that we can help influence change, or it could be at a local or at a national level. In relation to, especially with the cost of living, if I can get the next slide, please. Okay, with the cost of living crisis, there's quite a lot that's going on within the Citizens Advice. At the moment, just before I continue, we were based previously at Freemasons Road at Custom House. I'm sure some people were aware of that, but we closed there and moved on to Star Lane. We are now based at 123 Star Lane at the hub. So what we do provide is more or less a hybrid service, face-to-face for really vulnerable clients, because we are just setting up at the moment. So we are not able to open fully for the public, but we do provide some face-to-face advice for vulnerable clients as well. But there is telephone advice as well that we provide. Our contact details will be provided at the end of the presentation. But I would probably just give a quick overview of the services that we provide and how we are able to help those who are referred through to us. So move on to the next slide, please. Okay, we started in really because of the cost of things going up as has been discussed previously and is well documented. We got a response from the Greater London Authority, the GLA. We were provided funding to provide additional advice capacity, which this project started around autumn in 2022. We are working together with a network of citizens advice services across London and the London Legal Support Trust Centres as well, which facilitates referrals within the citizens advice that we work in. So this is based in, we've got South, East and North London as well. But within Newham, we're working together with Barking and Dagenham, Redbridge, Havering, and the East End CAB, which comprises of Hackney and Tower Hamlets as well. So any clients can be referred through from all those boroughs and within London as well. So this was really, the project is mainly to increase advisor capacity and also extend the sector's reach to support more Londoners, including partnering with other organizations within the local community as well, and offering advice first aid training. This is more or less a collaboration between, or just empowering frontline workers to ensure that they're able to escalate information and advise or refer into the citizens advice. The next slide, please. So this project, the Cost of Living project, we work closely with faith and community groups, as well as the local citizens advice that the ones that I've mentioned. So within the 6 regions, which is the Southwest, Northeast, Central, and Southeast, we are based in Newham. We are the East, and we do have a specialist advisor who focuses mainly on specialist welfare benefits and debt advice, because we've realized this is really the 2 main areas that could have an impact in improving the cost of living, the impact of the cost of living on the clients who approach us within East London. So apart from the specialists that we have, we also have a crisis advisor who is a generalist advisor who can help with form filling, one-off advice, as well as help with supporting with monetary considerations for benefits. She does provide generalist advice as well. And we work with other centers of excellence in collaboration with Marywood, Tamil Welfare Association, and Community Links as well. So any referrals that are appropriate, we are able to refer directly, other than people trying to contact them, through the normal methods, which sometimes takes a longer way to get through to any advisor. So yeah, it's more or less a project that's run across, in collaboration with all the other CAs as well as specialists. So next slide, please. So one of the projects that we have within the CAB is also the Thames Water, and this is mainly new, and because we are more or less a project-based service, we have projects that once we get funding for, we do focus on that in order to support the community. There is the Thames Water Trust Fund project. This project focuses on helping vulnerable people. Obviously, vulnerable people can be vulnerable in various ways. It could be health, low income, it could be age, disability, or people who have learning difficulties. So it's just something that with the project, they focus on their customers just to ensure that they're able to get the support that they should be getting, because not every Thames Water customer is aware of what their rights are and what they could access from Thames Water itself. So with I'm going to talk about a few things that the Thames Water Trust project can support clients with. So there is help in applying for grants through their trust, through their hardship funds. The hardship fund, if you're a customer and you have an account, it's not just, I think what the only disadvantage with the Thames Water customer trust is that if you have a landlord with the account in their name, or if you pay your water directly through, let's say, a housing association, some of these grants may not be accessible, but it's always best to refer to us and we can check that as well. So the trust fund can help with things like white goods. They can help like cooker, fridge, freezer. They could also help with furniture such as beds or bedding as well. It's something that most people may not be aware, but if we try, because I know there's quite a large amount of applications going in for various charities and grants like Glasspool, they do get overwhelmed. But if anyone is a customer for Thames Water, it's best to just refer to us and we can have a look and see how we can help make the application on their behalf. They also help with applications to the Thames Water Customer Assistance Fund. This is a price matching scheme that it's for if any customer has a debt of 120, let's say in the last financial year, then they can actually be considered for the customer assistance fund. So this is a fund that an arrangement is made to pay off the debts in affordable amounts on a monthly basis. This is matched pound by Thames Water. And after 2 years, if the debt is there's still a balance on the debt, this is actually written off. So it's a good scheme to join, especially if you're able to, if the customer is able to at least meet the current payments, current monthly payments. You have to be able to meet that as well as make an affordable payment towards your debt. It is matched pound by pound. Another scheme that came, which is also the Customer Assistance Fund, this is a most recent one. This is the scheme where they can actually pay £200 to reduce the balance. This is for people whose actual payment towards the bill is quite high. If you're paying, I think, more than a third towards your bill, then I think it's something that can be considered. It is a new scheme under the Water Customer Assistance Fund. It's worth exploring, but if a customer is not aware of, the client is not aware, it's just worth making a referral and we could see ways in which they could be helped with this. And there's also the applications to WaterSure or Water Help. This is quite useful because if you, for Water Help, it's a social tariff where you can get up to 50% discount on your whole bill. But to be eligible for this, you have to have a low income household below 21,000, I think 749 if you live in London, and 17,005 if you're elsewhere. But this is net of disability benefits. Just to bear in mind that all benefits are taken into account, even housing benefit, with the exception of the disability element. So it's something that the client could actually be able to pay just 50% of their bill. It is a social tariff, so it's worth checking if they're entitled to Water Help. If they're paying more than 5% or more than 5% net towards their housing costs, after their housing costs, they could also be entitled to this social tariff. And with WaterSure, if your annual bill, if you're on a water meter, because sometimes there are people who use quite a lot of water and they're on a water meter, this can be capped to 456, but there are also conditions, because you have to either have a qualifying medical condition or have 3 or more children under the age of 19 and you're claiming child benefit for them. So it's worth checking, or at least just making the referral so that we just check and see if they're eligible for help. There's also the applications to the Thames Water Priority Service Register. With the Priority Service Register, it's just extra support can be given to people who, and mainly these are people who are suffering from medical conditions, vulnerable or elderly. It's best to check, because you may think that you're not entitled to the Priority Service Register, but it's something that could be, it could just be, let's say you could be blind, or you could have a client who's partially blind, or may think they don't require extra help, but this is something that might help because they can tailor their services as well as communication based on the needs. And if for any reason there's a water cut, or maybe there's a planned water cut, they can then supply bottled water as a matter of priority to those who are registered with the Priority Service Register. So that's just in a nutshell, a very quick overview of the Thames Water Trust Fund. But if you've got any customers who are registered with Thames Water, there's quite a lot more that can be done apart from just helping negotiate dates for them. They can always be referred into us. So I think I'll look at other services that the Citizens Advice also provide, I think in the next clip. So the other advice, we do provide debt advice as well. So including debt options such as arrangements to pay, rights or write-offs. This depends on personal circumstances, of course. Help with applying for debt relief orders, as well as help with bankruptcy applications. So all the options are available. We do initially explore individual circumstances as they approach us, and then we make a decision jointly with the client as to what option they prefer. We do have an intermediary who can help with debt relief orders within the Citizens Advice. And we can also help to apply for breathing space for people who are in debt. This is breathing space is just an application that we make for people who are in high debt, and then would be given time to make an arrangement to decide as to what options to take in considering what debt options, or in making arrangements to pay. So this is an application we make, and it gives up to 60 days for someone in debt, where the creditor will not contact them, will not add any interest for the whole 60 days. But for people who have mental health conditions, breathing space can actually apply indefinitely until the intervention ends, until the mental health treatment comes to an end. So it's something worth considering, especially if someone is finding difficulties in coping and they suffer from mental health issues or not. As I said, there is a minimum of at least 60 days breathing space that is given by creditors without chasing up. We do have provide benefits as advice as well. It's not only from the cost of living. We have other projects as well. We can provide help with form filling, PIP and DLA, UC50 form filling, general benefit advice, as well as benefit checks, and then challenging adverse benefit decisions up to appeal level. So that's something that we can help with. I think we shouldn't really worry, especially if deadlines have been missed, because we can make an application to challenge an adverse benefit decisions up to 13 months. So even if it's an application for an appeal or challenging a benefit decision hasn't been made within the 1 month period, just refer to us, and then we'll decide if there is merit. We can always make a late appeal for the benefits. So we also provide help with general housing advice, with things like disrepair, homelessness, landlord-tenant disputes. If we feel that they require specialist help, we always refer to our various specialist partners as well. So either way, we can make the referral, and then a decision will be made as to whether it's something we can deal with, or if it requires more specialist help, we will make the referral as well. Okay. And next stop, I think it's probably the last slide. This is just how to contact us. We do have an advice line service at the moment, which is on the screen for initial assessments. So the lines are open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 to 1 p.m. Alternative is contact NEOM inquiries, which is a lot more longer opening hours, 10 to 4 p.m. That's Monday to Wednesdays. And for anyone requiring help to apply for universal credit, there is a free national service as well. That's a lot quicker than trying to get through to us, especially if all they want is to help make an application for universal credit. So that's the 0800 number that's on the screen at the moment. I think that's it from the Citizens Advice. If you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Florence. I'll just really quickly race through to the next slide, which just talks a little bit about how to access the Worrying About Money leaflets. So to request printed copies, we just have a link here. I think Newham Council are distributing them sort of to, I think we're getting together a plan for distribution, but even so, if you would like printed copies, you're more than welcome to use this link, just so we've got an idea as to sort of how many people need those. We've also got the link to the digital leaflet here, and leaflets are available in various locations around Newham as well. So yeah, would it be all right? Labour over this. Great, thank you. I won't labour over this too much because you're all incredibly experienced frontline organisations, and more very experienced in talking to people about money worries. But we just have a section of the training that talks about how you might use the leaflet. So there are some ways here that you can frame the question. So can break the ice, use open questions, offer up information for people to sort of explore themselves. There are quite a few ways that you can approach someone about money worries, because we all kind of know that it's not really that easy, and the leaflet can be quite a useful tool for that. So as well as this, there are a couple of other questions that you can ask as well. So you can ask what people know about citizens' advice. That's normally quite a good in. You can ask if people have seen the leaflet, or can I give you information about a leaflet that other people have found helpful. So as I said, there are quite a few ways that the topic of money worries can be explored with the leaflet. And if you think that any of these questions will sort of be helpful to you, as I said, we are sharing the slides afterwards, so they will have all of this information on there as well. So we are actually coming sort of towards the end of the training session. So anyone who was here at the start and that did the Mentimeter, if you could go back to the Mentimeter using the code and sort of rate how, if you feel as though your understanding of the 3 questions on there has improved using that code. Thank you. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the training. So we've got a link here that you can find out more about the leaflets and about their sort of conception and where they come from. There is a shared email address for us here where you can get in touch with us if you've got any questions or anything that you'd sort of like to add to the leaflet that you think is missing, or if there's anything that you'd like to sort of do with that. And lastly, I just want to thank the Highland Money Counts Partnership, because this training was based on a lot of the resources that they developed. And I'd also like to thank London Plus and the GLA, who have provided us with funding to sort of carry out this training. So